here I am at Saxby, the lovely little art group here in the village hall, and they've very kindly and unwisely invited me back to give them another lesson, another session. So they must have got something out of the previous one. And we're going to do this today. We're going to have a bit of fun because David has asked me to show how I do the basics of the larger cafe scenes and the ballroom scenes. I'll show you a couple on film here now. I didn't bring them today, but I'll show you a couple here as to how the bigger ones are done, and you can see in more detail on my films on YouTube if you wish. Today what we're going to do is this one, just learning the basic simple ways of using the sponge roller to gain these lovely backgrounds and get the effects of the glazes and textures and so on. A little bit of sea sponge work at the end, a little bit of brushwork at the end just to tidy it up. Now what I've done is they've all got paints, they've all got heavy body acrylics, these ones, some lovely colours. I've worked out that's the colours we're going to need from the photograph. I haven't done this one before, so I'm hoping I've got the colours right. I've got some sea sponges here, and we've got our sponge rollers. And the first thing I've asked them to do is to draw out this painting by using marks at the side of the photograph into quarters and eighths, and then make those marks corresponding on their canvases so that the horizon line and the basic shapes come in the same places proportionately to the photograph. Not to worry about too much detail on this. We're not doing animals, we're not doing figures, we're not doing... so make sure you get things the right size and scale, yes, obviously. And then they're going to wet their sponge roller first of all, just wet it totally and then squeeze out all the wet and dry it on the paper towel afterwards, because you don't want a soaking wet sponge. Even when you wash the roller each time you go back and you dry it out. So we've got is a damp sponge. That again here, make sure it's really well done. Squeeze it in, dry it off. Because if you use a wet roller, the paint just streams down your canvas, you can't do anything. So you want a dry roller. And a palette for mixing on, and you'll see how I do that in just a moment. So quarters, it's usually enough. Approximate quarters. We haven't got to be exact because we're not doing an animal or people or it doesn't matter if something's a little larger or a little smaller, but as long as we're approximate. So, for instance, here, this horizon line, that line of the hill starts there, and over here, the horizon line finishes smack on, that's that bit of cloud there, but the actual sea comes, about, that's halfway there, it comes just over halfway here, and that's where the line of the sea comes in. We see where this bit of hillside comes in, this cliff comes in down to the water here. It finishes about an eighth in, so come in there, there's a line up. That's where this mark's going to come here. I've got a little bit of hill there, then I've got a mountain coming right up to here. The height of the hill here is just under halfway here.
You won't be a minute.
There. The mast comes down from this mark here, and the height up is just about here. So when I put a little cross here is where the mast comes. If I get the angle right now, the same angle as here, using a pencil I can make an angle like that. It's just remember that when you're doing things like this, for instance, if I'm bringing this across, so I'm seeing where that mast comes by two marks, one from here down and one from here across, and where those two join, that's where the point of the mast will come. So work everything out like that. Now the angle of that mast, if I bring my pencil up from the photograph, and the photograph is correctly spaced, we can get the angle of the sail straight away, look, so we know it's that. And then where does that finish? The boat comes down to just in line with a quarter down here, so if I come across from here, it's going to be approximate. That's where the boat's going to meet the water. The bow of the boat comes just inside halfway here, and the stern finishes just inside this one. And we just need the height of the boat, so it's an angle like that. Just get the approximate shape. And there's our boat, simple as that. We know that that mast is coming down there, so it should be coming, well, that line has to come to there, so we know that this one has to come to here. There's the jib, and the back of the jib comes down to just inside half here. So there's my back of my jib. There's the line coming down for the mainsail, the mast, and it comes about halfway up here. Look at this space here, get that space right, that shape right here. Where does it finish? Here, just here. So we know it's going to curve into there. We've got a nice, but watch out for the shapes inside as well, so not just the shape of the sail, but the shapes in between the sail and the boat. Look at each shape compared to one to another. So now we've got that shape correct. Where the figures come, little figure there, little figure here. Just lumps, all we need the basics. Now we carry on with the composition. And we know that line comes right through. And it comes downwards slightly because it isn't parallel. This island isn't parallel across. It's not level. It actually comes down and in slightly. So we've got a line that does this. You can always come up here with your canvas and put it next to mine and check it if you want. See where things are going. First thing I want to do is actually how to mix the paint itself. And the colour we're going to start with, we'll start with the lighter sky in the background here. We'll do one of our lightest colours first. You won't need the brushes yet, you only need them at the end, so don't worry too much at the moment. You want one of each, a larger and smaller, but yeah. Let's start with this. You see there's a slight change in tone here. Now you might think every time you change colour you've got to wash your rollers, but you don't. If we start from our lighter colours, and I usually start with my mid-tones in the painting and go down to my dark and then work back up to my light. I find that works best for me, because I like to paint with light at the end. Here we're going to start, we haven't got any real lights, this is our lightest area, so we're going to start with the sky, often a good place to work our way down. I have had it said by other artists that they find that the horizon is often the mid-tones anyway. So we're going to start with this orange, and you see how it goes more orange here into more pink here. And if you look at that with our colours that we've got there, you can actually see those colours happening. See the orange here, and you can see the magenta coming into it. So start getting used to looking at your colours and actually seeing the colours in there that we're going to mix as well. And when we mix the colours, we're going to use a brush first of all to mix them. With the largest brushes you've got, you can use bigger than these. But you mix the colour into the palette. Make sure I'm looking at that. And in this case, I'm wanting a fairly magenta orange, so I'm going to take a bit of orange. Now, if you're mixing a light colour, if you're using white, for instance, and we're not yet, but if you're using white, then put the white down first and gently add the colour. What happens if you do it the other way around? You end up with a gallon of it. You end up with a gallon because you have to add more and more and more white. So if we are using a light colour, then magenta, the white first, and a little touch of colour to bring it through. We're not using white in this case. We're making a magenta orange. So I want to match that as closely as I can to the magenta orange I've got here. Now magenta is a lovely colour. It comes in darks and lights. You can see the lovely colour I'm getting there. And it's almost matched that colour here, hasn't it? If I come round, you'll see. We can put it next to the... You see here. If you want to make a purple, you can't make purple without magenta. You need magenta and cerulean or turquoise.
Yeah.
If you use, as the schools teach you, red and blue, well, end up with a mucky brown. So cadmium red and brighter reds won't give you a purple, they'll give you a purpley brown. I've got to do that on the table flat. If you can see what I'm doing here, I'm going to put the roller through the brush. Now, normally you'd use a bigger brush. I'll be using a 1.5 inch or a 3/4 inch brush for this because I'm doing bigger paintings and lots of paint. So I didn't think of that one today, but I just bought these medium-sized brushes. If you've got a bigger brush, you can use them. But put the roller through the brush so you're not wasting the paint from the brush. Now, I've already asked you to have wet your sponge rollers. I've already asked you to do that and to dry it off, so I hope you've done that. Because if you've got a dry roller, you're not going to get it on. Make sure that the rollers are fairly dry. Now, let's just see what we can do with the sponge roller, because you would think that a sponge roller is almost impossible to work with, such a big, heavy thing. But look, we can make quite a lot of, let's pick my photograph here, we can make quite a nice thin line with the roller. If you use the edge of the roller, you can even curve that line, but you can draw with it. People think you can only use the flat, you can't. Right, that's using the edge of the roller. We can use the flat of the roller, up here, that's what I'm going to do, and I'm going to push quite hard. But look what happens if I push lightly. It's a very, very thin coat, and we're going to use that to our advantage. We're going to use that to glaze with. So if I push hard, I get a thicker coat, and the more paint I put on there, the more texture I get. So if I put tons of paint on my plate and just drag the roller through, I get a really nice tacky texture, a bit like stucco, you know? Now, the other thing you can do as well, if I'm doing a larger scene, say I want to do somebody's face or something, you don't just have to use the roller flat, you can use it like rubbing it across, like that. You can use it sideways to make marks. Now, these first few coats, as we get going on this is what's going to take the paint, so you're going to have to mix more. That's why I said if you do need more, come and get it. And we're just doing this area at the top, this pink, this magenta orange mix here, we're doing it at the top. Maybe you're finding that's a bit dark, so we'll see if we need to add a bit of light to it in a minute. Let's see how we go, and I want you to see how you can blend colours together. So I'm going to mix again, a mess in there as well. Now, I'm going to do a thin roll and then a thicker roller. So I'm going to roll my roller through the brush and the paint, back up to my painting again, and let's continue this down right through to here. What I want to show you is if I take the roller now, see how thick that paint is just here, where I haven't rolled it through the brush. Yeah?
Yeah.
Really thick, heavy paint. I'm just going to just roll that gently over the top.
What colours have you added there now?
I put a little bit of white extra, so it's the same colour, it's the orange and the magenta, but I put this little touch of white in because I didn't think it's quite light enough.
Okay.
So it's more the magenta than the orange. So what I want to do is I'll show you this texture. Look at the texture I'm getting there with the roller. See that texture on the plate? Yeah? So if we use the paint much thicker and we're very light with the roller, look at that lovely texture we get. So we're not just having to do a smooth texture. We can by adding more paint. This kind of texture look, or even heavier. You see there we've got that lovely thick paint now. If we actually just use the roller gently, look at the lovely texture we get. If I don't push too hard, if I come back here, just for fun, and I show you, look at that texture on the canvas. See that texture we can get now? I'll show you against the white so you can actually see what's happening. But if I wanted to, and I wanted to use it over a different colour, say I wanted the sea glistening, I wanted to leave some colour behind and that light over the top, I could do it that way, couldn't I? So I can take that colour here just for fun, I can go over there, and if you're looking at this closer, you'd see that that actually is quite textured. I'm just going to roll it straight in now. Used to wear a microphone for this. Right. So that colour right down to here. Not right down to the bottom, because I'm going to change my colour slightly. I could do, but I'm not going to. Go slightly over the area you want to, go slightly larger, because with this technique we are able to go over as well as blending in. We're able to go over and blend in. And I would still like that a little bit lighter, and I want you to keep playing with this. In my palette now, I'm going to take a little bit of white down to my palette plate, my very expensive palette plate, and I'm going to add a little bit of white to it, a bit more white. That'll be all white. and not too much, and just bring my roller through that. And let's just show how we can blend one colour over another. So I'm going to be a little bit lighter on top. So up here I want this to be a little bit lighter now. I'm going to gently, ever so gently, just lifting the surface of the canvas, and the other colours just glowing through. So we're starting to get the effects of how we can glaze. We're letting the colour under. If I rolled hard, I'll do it to that. Here's a hard roll, look. That's how it goes. You lose all the texture underneath. But if you roll lightly, you're able to just glaze that colour on top and get this lovely mix. And I haven't had to wash the roller. Right, stage 2 on that, the bottom of this space has more orange. So I'm going to come back in, saying the cadmium orange again, with hardly any magenta because it's already there. And I'm going to take my sponge roller through my brush again because I don't want too much texture, I want to actually get the colour this time. And I'm going to go right down to that horizon. Look how orange that is. Now when I come up to this one, I can gently bring it across the joint. And look how that just blends in to that joint.
Is that the lighter colour?
That's the orange. That's the cadmium orange on its own.
Oh, right.
So I did the lighter one over the top, which you've done. Now I've gone back to the pure orange, no magenta. As in what we've got here. Look, we've got the magenta, orange and the white. So we come down to here with the pure orange. Okay? Let's get some more paint if you really need it. So our next colour is going to be going on to this slightly more pinky, slight touch of purple into it. Very, very small touch of purple and white. I'll mix again.
That purple and white in with the orange.
When?
You want to mix the
Are you going to wait? What, now?
I thought that's
I'm just about to start. So hang on a minute. Are you talking about the previous one? No, you've done that. Now this one, I'm just about to take some of the magenta. That's that one.
Yeah.
I'll do it holding it up for you. And a little bit of the orange. So it's very magenta-y, this one.
Yeah.
But I'm going to try, because I haven't mixed these colours myself yet, so I'm going to take a little bit of this mid-purple here. And let's try that. Look, that's not far off. Yeah? Can you see that going to that colour now?
Yeah.
But I'm mixing quite a bit because it's quite a big lump, so don't mix too little. It's better to have a little bit too much than too little. Right, there we are.
Oh, yeah.
You see the colour coming?
Yeah.
So we're going to learn about mixing colours as well as we go along. And I do this by looking at the colours and actually separating them out of my brain. I just look at this and say, well, that's got that, that and that in it. But that's giving you that lovely, mix it right in. And there we are. I'll just put a bit to test it. I'll just put a bit on here. About right?
Yeah.
Okay, so that was the magenta, a little touch of orange, and then a little touch of that mid-purple. Now what I'll do is I'll just come around and so to make it easier for you, I'll put a little bit on the palette so you can just see where it's going. You've got fire. Let's see what we do. Now if we don't like this, we can adjust it, so let's just try it. Roll the roller through. So I've just been around putting a little bit of paint on everybody's palette so they can see what the mix is. You'll get theirs across here. And just,
It's not going to happen.
yes it is, it's open up and you're going to get there. Come back up in a minute. So it's a little bit darker, it's a fraction darker in tone. We can come into it slightly and across it. Let's have a look at these colours. You've got some, did you get some more magenta, I think. So go slightly over the areas that, even over the sails slightly, don't be afraid of that. You'll find one of the beauties of this is, if you're putting the paint on the right sort of consistency with these first coats, that you'll be able to see your drawing underneath. And I can actually still see my sails drawn underneath this now. So I'll be able to put those in with the brush later if I need to. So it's just beginning to get the colours we need. We'll have to go back into these a bit, but let's not worry about that at the moment. Got to go and get more then. I promised you'd paid. I've got to. I'm going to use that deeper red. I'm going to use my. See, we've got a colour here that's sort of in between. I've got a strange mark on mine as well. I think mine must have been left out somewhere, like a shadow. But it's in between burnt sienna and the alizarin crimson. That's these two colours here, that one and that one. So I'm going to start with the same colour, but I'm going to add into it. So our magenta mix, but I'm going to add into that some alizarin crimson here and a little touch of burnt sienna, and just see how that goes. So let's see how that goes with a brush first. So that's the alizarin crimson, that's this slightly darker one.
We're putting some crimson in it, yeah.
Alizarin crimson and some burnt sienna. And I should be able to get something that's pretty close to that. Let's see how that goes. This one's an awkward one. It's got a slight green tint to it. I'm going to first of all add some white to the colour we've just done. And then I'm going to try a little touch of this very light green into it and see where we go from there. It might even be the yellow ochre, but I'll just white and then a little touch of yellow ochre and maybe the green. We'll see. I'll do it as I go along. Right, so if you want to watch me mixing, you can do. White into that. Well, yes, white into that. So going for this colour here. That makes it light enough now. I'm not using water, you'll notice, because that would make it all soggy and thin and horrible. So that's just about got the right tone. Because we've got colour intensity, the brightness of colour, and we've got colour tone, which is the dark and lightness of colour. So that's just about got my colour intensity, the tone there. You can see how light that is, yeah? That's just the white and the same colour you've just done. Now I'm going to try a little bit of yellow ochre to see if that does it. If not, I'm going to use the green. Yes, that yellow ochre's helping. It's not quite right yet. A touch of green, that's better. So a bit of yellow ochre and a bit of green. Only the smallest touches, don't make it too dark. It's quite a funny old colour, but I can see these colours going on in it, so I'm trying to help you to do that. Right, if I come round, I'll show you that now. You see what I mean about that colour? Don't cover your whole plate, just the area that you want to actually mix with. There we go. And I've got this strange sort of grey-green colour which works very nicely. There we go. That is the right colour, yeah, we've got it there. It's quite difficult sometimes to work out what colours need to be mixed to make what. Now what I am noticing is that this colour seems to just come through slightly, and that this grey-green I'm making, I'm just going to use it just to come over these bits of cloud here very lightly, just a little bit, just to link them together here. Because I can see this colour, there's a little bit right down here, look, buttons there, there's a bit there. I'm just going to link my clouds together a bit more, very lightly. And you dried it really well, did you? And for this I've used the alizarin crimson here and magenta. So it's pure alizarin crimson and magenta to make this dark line that's going to go across here. There, that one. You can see the difference. If you don't want to use your roller for this, you can use your brush. But I'm going to use the roller for the whole. But I'm going to use the edge of the roller. So I'm going to be snazzy and use my roller for it. But just use the edge of your roller. So we'll go right through it. Because I want you to learn to use the roller, not just flat on. Back up to the painting. And if we use the edge of the roller, let's go all the way along here. So that was the important thing in this one, is just to start to use the edge. Now because this colour is much deeper, richer red, it changes the effect of all the other colours around it. So into that same mix, a bit of purple, the very light purple. And again, I'm going to use the edge of my roller. You can use the brush if you want. You should be alright with your roller. You can roll your roller through it all, doesn't matter about that. When you come to paint, you start getting used to using one side of the roller more than the other. So it's going to be there. And you see how much more purple that is than that red. It's much more purple. It's not far off the purple that you've got.
I did the whole thing.
Use your...
Well, just,
If you've already done the whole thing, just go over it with the purple.
yeah.
No problem, yeah, even better. Yeah, that's fine. I think I did actually say that earlier, so it'd be my fault for misleading you. But now you see the painting's just starting to glow. We're starting to get these different colours working together. So I'm going to use the purple mix from earlier and a little bit of the green, purple and the green, to try and get this mix here. That gives me a lovely mix. Yeah, that's not far off. What I'm going to do is add a little bit of Prussian blue to it. So this, we're looking at now these mountains up here. And again, we're going to use the roller. You can go just outside your sails, but don't go slightly over the sail, won't you? Because
Oh, that's yours, the green one. Mine's the best.
yeah, we'll do it. We'll wash them again.
Violet's purple, isn't it?
That's the purple. Yes, that's the one. There we go. That lovely green purple with a bit of Prussian. Up to here. It was the green and the purple, and if you wanted to, you could have a little bit of that deep Prussian blue. That's up to you. And that goes down here. And you want a nice sharp edge to this, because where this mountain comes, you're going to go slightly over your orange. You don't want a matte edge. A nice
Green. Green and Prussian blue. No, green.
green and purple, and Prussian blue if you want to try a bit.
Purple.
Prussian blue will just give it that zing.
Just a tiny bit if you want.
Yeah. Try out the green and the purple first, and if you want to add a little bit of Prussian blue, you can go over it again. You can see here I've got a slight mixture of the two. I'm deliberately not letting my roller completely blend. You can come right down into the sea with this. Don't worry if you come across into the sea as well with this first bit down here. We're going to go darker over this in a minute anyway. It's almost the same colour as the line of the sea underneath the island. So don't be afraid to do as I'm doing here and come right down. But do try to use the edge of your roller where it's needed, like here for instance in between the sail. Right, now you see I'm just bringing that down slightly into my base here, because I'm going to bring other colours across. Don't be afraid to do that. I'm going to use it thinly right the way through. And we'll just bring those colours out a bit. With this lovely green just going along, coming down into the... And in fact I can bring that same... It's good, this colour. This is colour I need for the sea anyway, so I bring this colour right down into the sea and give it a base coat all the way over every bit of white. So the same, just mixing on the same colour I had. I'm taking some of the green and the deep blue and just now filling in all of the gaps in the sea. I'm going to make this dark colour. It's not black, which is very dark though. So I'm going to use my deepest, the Prussian blue. So really dark Prussian blue. Lovely deep rich Prussian blue, but it wants to be a bit warmer, so Prussian blue and...
Have I missed doing the sea? I've not done anything for the sea.
Well that's why I just said you need to use this. I said you need to use that down here.
Oh really?
This is here.
Yeah, but I had to.
Isn't it?
I can't remember.
If you want, you can do the start bit now and then put the sea in afterwards.
Right, I'll do
Don't worry, you just do it section as you wish. So how do I make this cool a bit warmer? I'm going to add some of that neat alizarin crimson into the Prussian blue. It gives me a lovely, deep, rich purple. A very dark purple. And it wants to be clean. You don't want any white in it. It wants to be nice and dark and clean. Pure Prussian blue and a little bit of the alizarin crimson, just to warm it a fraction, and let's see how that looks on the horizon here when we're getting this lovely dark, this bit here. Now you can see the darkness I'm putting in, and that changes all the colours again, look. It's a nice sharp edge. Now, I did bring some masking tape, and I tell you why I brought the masking tape is if you wanted to let it dry and put masking tape along here, you could get a really sharp edge. But that's up to you. You can always use it the other way around. You could put this dark in, and if you want to put the sea back in, you could come back with the masking tape and we could put it on the dark bit and put the sea in. So whichever way around you want to do it. I'm just going to manage, I hope, with the roller. And I'm going to use the edge of the roller with the same colour just to start trying to put in some of the effects of the waves here, the little ripples. Look, just the edge of the roller. Do you want to watch what I'm doing there again? Ready? Edge of the roller, this dark colour, just gently tickling in some of these, make them larger in the foreground and smaller in the background. And we're going to use the sea sponges at the end to make the smaller textures in the background and your small brushes. I just want you to try and learn how to use the roller, you know, all of it, not just the flat, but the tip as well, the edges as well. So our last colour, to do all the background colours before we start onto details or overlaying, is black and a little bit of blue, nice and thick, nice and even. Use your brushes and a little bit of water to get the consistency right. You don't want dry paint for this one.
What colour is this we're using, Peter?
This is the last one. It's the black with a little touch of blue, a little touch of the deep blue. We're going to use black as our last resort because we can't go blacker than black and we can't go whiter than white. So if we're using black at the end, it's going to really stand out and come forwards is what we want with these sails.
Black is what you're using.
You've only got one black, that's it. And black and a little touch of the blue. Just to take the sootiness off it, just to give it a bit more vibrance and link it together. And again, if you make a mistake, don't worry, because you can come back and you can paint up to it or over it, or especially with these sails, because they're not easy. The sea was the same as the island at the top, so this bit here is reflecting down here. So take that colour and bring it down here and then use it thinly through afterwards.
Oh, right. Okay.
It makes sense when you think about it, doesn't it?
Yeah. It's just that I couldn't remember.
Well, you got a bit lost and get behind on one bit and then you've got to go back on another. No, just enjoy.
Yeah, I can't remember what colours I mixed.
So all we've got to do really is go back on the same colours we've been using and start putting the details in, or lighter and darker colours of the same thing to make the waves and everything. Now I'm going to want to go back on the sky with the sponge roller and use a bit more magentas and oranges yet, go back over that again. And I need some more of the light purples and things with the brush. I'm on the waves now and I'm just using some of the pure purple just to bring the tops of the waves out. Same with the roller, when you've got something on your roller, when you've got something on your brush, if it's somewhere else, well, do it there as well. Don't keep changing your colours and having to mix more, it's a bit silly that. Use it up. Now I'm using the green almost just as it is on tops of the waves. Really start to get these colours to vibrate and sing together. It's from this green now going in, you see, so we have the purple coming into these waves.
Yeah.
Now I'm coming back with the green just to pick up the tips of the...
And you're doing it with your brush?
Just the tip of the brush. I finish with the roller now together. Unless I come back into here, I may wash the roller and come back and do a bit more colour in here. But now, as I say, once you've done the preliminary coats with the roller, you finish off all your details with the brush or your fingers.
Right.
Yep. And if you've got little tiny marks in the background as waves and that's what you want, well then you use these sea sponges here if you like. whatever you find best, whatever you, if you think brushes are best for you, well, use brushes, that's fine. And I often find with smooth water, when you're doing moving water, cascades or trout streams or whatever, it's very gestural. But when I'm doing smooth water, I tend to paint the depth first, and then the horizontals and reflections afterwards. And I always make sure that I've got some vertical strokes going on to get the feeling of reflections. Can you see what I mean here? Look.
Yeah.
And I've just dragged the brush down to give the idea of reflections. Just gives that more watery surface. It's not on the photograph, you just need to do that. But I'll let you catch up with that and give you a hand on details if you want. I'll wash my roller because I want to use the roller again final. Don't let the rollers dry out whatever you do, because right, if anybody wants to know what I'm doing here, that little bit of sky there I thought wasn't orange yellow enough, so I put a little bit of the yellow ochre with white into the magenta, into the orange there, sorry, just to make that a little bit more orange. This is where you want to use the roller very, very lightly, just to add reflected colours onto the edge of the roller, just to add some of these reflected bits of sunlight in. So yeah, I'm just working up some of these colours one over another now, just to try and get back effects I don't quite feel are right. Now, I was talking about using sponges earlier. I'm just going to take a sea sponge, and you see how I've gone over mine with the roller again since, and just brought out some of these colours from the sky. I've gone over the sky again, just adjusting the colours slightly, but I've also very lightly brought the oranges into the water. Just lightly going over the edge of the roller to give you an effective reflection. Let's just see if I can make a little bit of, I'm still working it, a little bit of sunshine glinting back here. Let's just use that sponge to don't want to overdo it. And when you're using a sponge, be careful not to just keep plodding on with it, because it will look like a pattern rather than... Now we can drag the sponge to make reflected lines. Don't just have to press it on, we can drag it slightly to make the idea of reflections going on here. What do you think? Is that an idea with the sponge? The foreground? It's your choices, you know, just drag the sponge slightly here and there and just brought out some of those little bits of reflection. And of course it's taken you totally out of your comfort zones today.
Oh yes.
Which is a good thing, because, you know, if you manage this, it's just a start to show you other ways to work, and hopefully, even if you haven't finished these fully today, just go away and carry on with them later and play with them until you get it. You've got the sponge rollers and you know what you can do and have fun. Remember that the green, of course, is the opposite in the colour circle to the red, so when I start bringing out these greens in the foreground here, it's really going to make the painting sing and vibrate. And that's as far as I'm taking this wee demo today. I think I've done about enough on that one, and if anybody else catches up with it, we've done all right today. Just got to look how they're doing. Effective.
Splashed on mine. I've not done the sea or anything.
That's the next bit. It is just the finishing. Everybody's got the basics of the painting sorted. Now it's just using a small brush to, that's all right. Well done.
I didn't fill in behind it, but I've got to do that now. Yeah.
Well, that's right. You know you can manage, because that's the beauty of acrylics. You can go over them, you can go around them, you can touch them up again, and
The sky's quite effective.
another day here. We've had 3 hours at this, and it's been hard work, and for everybody to get them done in time, but they've managed really well, I think. We learned a bit by it, haven't we? And I think they're interesting. I hope you do take them further and try them and explore more with them. What I'll do is I'll put up some of the paintings that I've done in the past, so you can see just how far they can be taken. But lovely effects we can get this way that we can't get with brushes, not easily, not without using dry brush or anything. Here we can just gently overlay them, can't we, glaze them and get those textures. We've only just begun to explore them, so if you have got acrylics, then you have a go later with some matte card or whatever, even paper, it's fine, and explore, just have fun. Great for Christmas cards. We were not for snow, if we did all the dark colours first and then use the fuzz at the end. All the light colours over the top of the snow, couldn't we? There's lots of ideas for this. Well, no, thanks.
Thank you.